Thank you, Senator Bingham and Senators. Thank you for having me testify. You have before you a booklet that we prepared. I'm going to call out the page numbers, and they're in the lower left-hand corner. We'll start at page 2, and I'll talk to each one of these graphics. So on page 2, you'll see that the building sector is not only the largest energy-consuming sector in the U.S., it is growing at the fastest rate. Page 3, building sector today is responsible for now 50.1% of total U.S. energy consumption. That's in 2008. Page 4, if you can break that down even further, building operations, what Arun was just discussing, is responsible for 42% in 2008 of total U.S. energy consumption. Page 5, of U.S. electricity consumption, the building sector is responsible for 75% of all the electricity produced in the United States. That's just building operations. Page 6, this is electricity consumption. It illustrates that the rate of electricity consumption by the building sector is increasing dramatically and will continue to increase between now and 2030. The entire projected increase in electricity consumption between now and 2030 is due just to building operations. 7, we issued the 2030 challenge targets a few years ago, calling for all new buildings and major renovations to meet an energy consumption performance standard of 30% below the regional average for that building type, and then moving on to carbon neutral by the year 2030. 50% of the regional average is roughly equal to about 30% below our latest building codes. 8, everyone from the federal government, we now have 5 states, many local governments have adopted the targets, most professional organizations. The EPA supports the targets through Target Finder. 9, in 2005, at the G8 summit, the parties, with the support of the United States, committed themselves to, with resolve and urgency, to cost-effective energy efficiency standards for buildings based on a 30-year payback. That's the definition of cost effectiveness. Page 10, NREL completed a study for Greensburg, Kansas, showing that at 30% more efficient would cost about $4,000. If you amortize it over 30 years over the life of a mortgage, your energy savings far outweigh that. That a homeowner on an annual basis will save about $512 a year. The little chart on the right illustrates that at cost neutral, you would go to 58% below code. Page 11, the DOE completed a study for 30% below code in all different climate zones in cities, and they came up with the same results, below ICC 2006. Page 12, so we're calling for the federal government to update the National Energy Conservation Code, 2010, 30% below our current code standards, IECC 2006 and ASHRAE 90.1, 2004, and on a 6-year cycle, 2016, 50% below code, 2022, 75%, 2028, carbon neutral, giving the states 2 years to get up to speed. And at the 50%, make it a true performance code, because performance codes don't pick clean energy technology winners and losers. We're also calling for the DOE to put out REACH codes so that those states and cities and counties that want to go beyond the standards can do so. And we really need REACH codes to take precedent over any federal appliance standards. 14, the public building sector represents 7% of total building square footage in the U.S. The private building sector represents 93%. The public building sector is not decreasing yet in terms of construction as of November, and I still don't think it's decreasing now. The private building sector is tanking and taking the entire economy down with it. So we've called for an economic recovery, a 2-year, 9 million job investment plan, asking the federal government to put in $200 billion, roughly $96 billion a year, in a housing mortgage interest rate buy down and a commercial building accelerated depreciation program tied to The energy reduction targets that we just called for, 30% below, 50%, 75%, and carbon neutral. That would create 9 million new jobs almost instantly, $1 trillion in new private investment for every dollar public spent. Private money has to be spent. A new renovation market, huge consumer savings, and we would drive down energy consumption. The tax base from the 9 million new jobs would pay for the plan on an annual basis. And the way it works, if you go to the next page, page 17, let's just take a buy down to 2.5%. If you wanted to get a 2.5% mortgage, you'd have to meet a standard of 75% below code. And those mortgage interest rates could change depending upon how many jobs you want to create. Next page, this is how it would work. To get to 75% below code, you would need to spend about $51,000 to tighten up your building and put a solar system on and do a number of things. That's about 25% an additional cost that it would cost for a new building. Let's just say you have a mortgage of $272,300 at 6%. Your monthly payment would be $1,600 a month. So in order to get to 75% below and to get a 2.5% mortgage, you'd have to invest the $51,000. If you rated that into your new mortgage, then if you go to page 21, you would have a new mortgage of $304,550. You will have spent $51,250 on the solar system, on tightening up your building, but now your new mortgage with a tax credit would be $1,203 a month. So if you go to page 22, your original mortgage payment would be $1,632 a month. Your new monthly payment would be $1,200. You would save $429 on your mortgage. You would save $145 on energy savings on a monthly basis. Your total monthly savings would be $575. That money goes back into the economy. You will have spent $51,000 or more putting people back to work. If you do that, you basically bring back, page 23, every conceivable industry in the United States, because they're all tied to the building sector, from demolition through architects and engineers, hardware, wood, plastics, you name it. The last page, 24, illustrates if you implement the codes between now and the year 2030, that we're able to then not only stabilize the building sector, but begin to get some major reductions in terms of U.S. energy consumption. Thank you.